Manchester United's next manager is the perfect guy for us. What's the latest regarding Ruben Amorim as he himself speaks about his move to United? A rundown of where we are, what's happening with Ruud van Nistelrooy, Rene Hack updates. How does Ten Hag feel about the whole situation? All that coming up in a rundown of today's Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video. Let's jump straight on into it. So as you can imagine, talk of the town, all the stories I've got for you today pretty much are revolving around the manager and the manager situation. Let's go through, because there's been loads of reports, loads of stories to go through that'll keep you all up to date with everything that's going on. So firstly, Fabrizio Romano, who's already given us the here we go for Amorim, let's not forget, said that Ruben Amorim can now be considered new Manchester United manager. Documents to be signed this week, contract until 2027, €10 million release clause plus $1 million for staff, and the 30 days notice. So what's being kind of reported at the moment is that United are going to do, in a similar way to what they did with Xerxes, although slightly different, is they're going to pay a little bit above his kind of release clause, one, to get the other staff that are coming in. I've got an update on all of that for you coming up, but also so that he doesn't have to serve his 30-day notice period, because with these clauses in contracts to protect clubs and stuff, they do have a 30-day release clause, which means you can pay the fee, but then you have to wait 30 days, which allows clubs time to go and get replacement managers and staff and stuff like that as well. But apparently United are going to pay a little bit extra to get him in within that 30-day window. So, and then Ben Jacobs said that the parties are waiting for the paperwork to be signed on the Ruben Amorim to Manchester United deal before confirming, because we have had a few conflicting stories saying that there's going to be an announcement today, and that came out last night after the match as well. But there's been a few more kind of updates which we'll go through in a second. But Ruben Amorim himself has given a press conference today ahead of Sporting's match at the weekend, and was obviously asked a lot of questions regarding Manchester United. So this is what he had to say in regards to it being a done deal. He said, "Done deal. I know you came here to talk about it, and that's natural, but we'll leave it until the end of the game. At the end of the game, I'll answer any questions. For now, I want the team to focus and to do so. And so do I. I promise I'll talk about it at the end of the game and everything will be clearer. Talk now is destabilising the team even more." And that's a fair point from Amorim, because he still has a job to do at Sporting for now, and still obviously wants to go out with a win, or with a couple of wins, I'm sure, as well. He also said it's a negotiation between the two clubs. It's never easy. Even with the clauses, it's never easy. They have to talk, and we will have clarification after the game. It will be very clear. So it's one more day after the game tomorrow. We will have a decision made. So Amorim himself kind of suggesting that no announcement's going to be made, or nothing's going to be. I mean, we might get, United announcing something potentially, but there's going to be more clarification after Sporting's next game regarding his future. But all signs are it's pretty much done, which will be clarified in some of the other stories that we've gone through. And obviously Romano's just said there that it's pretty much a done deal. I think just out of respect, Amorim's trying to not maybe throw Sporting under the bus as much as he probably wants to come. I think there's a bit of respect going on between the clubs, and United letting them kind of maybe get replacements in, and not stealing all of their staff from under their noses while they've got a busy schedule as well, is the way I kind of think about it. Now, Laurie Whitwell, who's a credible source, said that Sporting were determined to keep Ruben Amorim for this crucial period until the break, and United agreed. Due to their desire for a smooth start, he will take charge of their first game against Ipswich. So, talk of the town is that Ruud van Nistelrooy will be in charge on an interim basis for the next few games. And then it looks like for the international break, Amorim's going to come in, and then he'll take charge ahead of the Ipswich game, which is our first game after the international break. That's how it's kind of looking at the moment. According to all the reports, The Athletic also said United had previously considered signing Ruben Amorim in the summer, but both parties decided it was not the right time. His clause was higher, and the board wanted to see how Erik Ten Hag would cope in a new structure. Omar Barad is a big admirer, and he was instrumental instrumental in the push to bring him to United, although it was a team decision. So again, that's kind of interesting that they were wanting to see how Ten Hag did under the new structure, which obviously they weren't impressed with. So they've decided to bite the bullet. Plus the fact that Ruben Amorim's release clause is cheaper now than what it was in the summer was obviously one of the other deciding factors in that as well, which is fair enough. It is what it is. Sky have said the players were warned to expect an extremely strict coach who does not tolerate egos in the locker room, who will not let himself be pushed around, who is very demanding in training, and who will get rid of anyone who does not respect the rules. Now that's really kind of good. I'm all for that. I do think managers need to have, but again, that was the reason why we bought Ten Hag in. So whether Amorim's going to be a little bit more maybe personal, because I do think Ten Hag, went a little bit over the top with some of his kind of punishment, I suppose, for players. Like there was a report yesterday. I've not brought it to you because I don't really like doing like hearsay stuff. But Rob Dawson from ESPN was basically saying that when Ronaldo refused to come on the pitch against Tottenham, he was effectively banned, and they wouldn't even let him. Ten Hag wouldn't even let him in the changing room to get his stuff or get his boots or something, and he had to get a youth team player in to go in and stuff. And I just think sometimes things like that are a little bit petty, which might not have gone down very well within the kind of the squad and bits like that as well. But I do think that we definitely need somebody that's got a little bit about them. But I think Amorim's got like maybe a little bit more kind of personality to be able to handle things a little bit differently as well. But again, I will reserve judgment because I heard that same thing with Ten Hag and it didn't exactly go well. In terms of that. But and then Alex Crook said, along with Carlos Fernandez, Adiello Candido, and George Vidal, sports scientist Paulo Barrera and Emmanuel Farrow are set to join Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. Now, Emmanuel Farrow, I looked it up, is Sporting Lisbon's assistant manager. So if you watched yesterday's video when we were talking about Van Nistelrooy and whether any of the three coaches, the first three named on there, whether they were his assistant manager or not, apparently they're not. Google says Emmanuel Farrow is Sporting Lisbon's assistant coach. So that does kind of look a little bit worrying for Van Nistelrooy and his kind of future at the club. And I've got an update on that, which I will bring you in a second. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Ruben Amorim is set to sign a 2.5-year contract worth $6.5 million a year with the option of a 12-month extension at Manchester United. That came from Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail. Do you think that's a bit of a short contract, or do you think that's about right? 2.5 years, so obviously this season, which is pretty much going to be a bedding in start for Amorim, and then 2 seasons with the option for a further one. I mean, that's the 2.5-year cycle, isn't it, for what United normally do with managers, 2.5 years and then they're off. So, protecting themselves a little bit there. I don't know what I think about the length of the contract. I suppose it's if Amorim's happy to sign it, then fair enough, it is what it is. Samuel Lucas said that Jose Mourinho believes Manchester United will be hiring the best manager in Portugal in Ruben Amorim. Mourinho insists Amorim never changes his approach regardless of the opposition, and his tactics provide depth for the wingers and the striker. He described his style as always intense. That came from Samuel Lucas. Quotes from Jose Mourinho regarding Ruben Amorim. He also said, though, that the Portuguese sources believe Erik Ten Hag's system was not conducive to Ugarte's strength, and he should be more effective in the 4-3-4 formation that Amorim favours, which is, again, we had kind of stories yesterday about how good Ugarte was under Ruben Amorim. So that's only a positive, because I thought Ugarte was really good last night. In fact, I think he's been good last couple of games that he's played for us in the midfield as well. So I do think that it's going to be interesting to see, who fits within that tactics, where he kind of plays as well. So it's going to be really interesting to kind of see how we get on in that kind of 4-3-3 formation, because apparently he's not changing it. Apparently that's the formation he prefers. That's the way that he wants to play. So he's not being bought in apparently to. I mean, he might try something different at United depending on the players that he's got, but that is apparently what he wants. That's his kind of philosophy. And I was thinking about this before actually, that it's really interesting that obviously bringing him in. But also bringing in all of his kind of coaching staff as well, a lot more than what was reported yesterday when it was just 3. Now there's up to 5, maybe even 6 coming in with him as well, which is, that's a positive in my opinion, because I think in the past we've not done that with managers, and then we've expected a manager to fit in with our style, and then you're like, well, why did you get that manager in the first place if you're not going to allow them, the coaches and the setup and everything, to do what they were doing that got you to recruit them in the first place? It's been a little bit weird in that regard. So, but with them bringing everyone in, they must be kind of thinking, well, we want to play exactly how, not exactly, but how Sporting are playing. That's our kind of vision, which is really interesting because they are a very attacking, dynamic team. I showed you all the stats yesterday. They're up there with the top scorers in Europe, with the least goals conceded in Europe, most chances created. Do you know what I mean? They are an absolutely, wicked team when it comes to like attacking football, front foot and football and stuff. So it's so that kind of to me suggests that the fact they're bringing in everyone with him, that is exactly the vision that they were going for, which kind of then, when you think about it logically, is the reason why Ten Hag is no longer with us, because if they're wanting, that's our vision, we want to play front-footed, attacking, high pressing kind of football, and then we've been served up what we've been watching all season, which hasn't always been that. There have been moments when we've looked good like that, but it hasn't always been the case in certain games. We've, like, especially the last few weeks, do you know what I mean? I go back to the Villa game, for example, and then pretty much since then, where we've been playing a little bit of survival football, it hasn't been like that. So it does. So it's really interesting that that's obviously their vision, where they want to play front-footed attacking football. So they've gone out and got one of the best managers around it doing that. But not just that, they're like, we want everybody with you to make it a success as well, which I'm here for. I'm kind of happy with them kind of taking that approach. We'll have to just wait and see though how it works, or whether it does work or not. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And no side in the Portuguese first tier has fielded a younger average 11 than Sporting, which is an average of 23.7 years of age. This season, they've won 9 out of 9, scored 30, and conceded just twice in league football this season. So there you go. They've obviously clearly looked at that and thought that's the style of football that we want. Bring in the manager and then giving the manager what he needs to try to implement that at United. And that's the word, try to implement it, obviously, and yeah, I'm here for that all day. I'm here for that all day to see how it kind of develops. And then Philip Dias, who's the Portuguese football expert on Sky, said he's not the right guy for them. He's the perfect guy when asked about Ruben Amorim for Manchester United. So Philip Dias saying that Ruben Amorim is the perfect guy for Manchester United. Again, I'm excited by it. I've heard a lot of this before, though, so I am reserving a little bit of judgment until, because we heard all this with Ten Hag. Mourinho was going to win us titles. Ollie was getting us back. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've heard that Rangnick was meant to be transformational when he came in with his, his style of play and all this kind of stuff. And none of it's worked out so far the way that it's being kind of portrayed in the media, or mainly on social media and places like that. So I will reserve judgment until I see it on the pitch. That does not mean, though, that I can't get excited about it. So I am intrigued to see how it will work and how it kind of goes. Now, this was an interesting story. So Victor Gyökeres and Morten Hjulmand are unhappy that Ruben Amorim is leaving Sporting. That came from a Jogo, so Portuguese outlet. Apparently the talk of the town there is that Amorim asked some of his players in the summer to be loyal and remain with the project and then stay at Sporting, and they probably kind of turned down maybe moves, and now at the first sign of United coming in, he's jumping ship and coming to United. It is what it is. I mean, I would take both of those players at United, that's for sure. I mean, both players, ironically, have been heavily linked with United in the past. Not so much Gyökeres, but definitely Hjulmand has definitely been a player of interest. I know we obviously ended up getting Ugarte, but, with the fact that we need midfielders, with Eriksen's contract situation, Casemiro as good as he did last night, I still think they want to remove because of his age and wage. I mean, Morten Hjulmand would be a very interesting player to come in. Yeah, definitely. And Victor Gyökeres, an outstanding striker. I think I've seen a stat. He's like 22 goals and assists or something in 12 games this season. Ridiculous stats. Don't quote me on those figures though, but he has got really, really good numbers this season. So yeah, really interesting. The fact that he told players to stay loyal, and then he's coming to United as well. But it is what it is. And then we had an update on Ten Hag. So Hans Cray Jr., who's a former football player who played with Erik Ten Hag, on how Erik Ten Hag feels after being sacked by Manchester United. So they understand that he's getting 70 million euros, and then people say he will go somersaulting through Manchester. No, he is completely devastated. He is completely ruined, and it is a sad state of affairs when managers do lose their job. And yes, he's going to be handsomely rewarded for losing his job. So, but I do generally think with Ten Hag, he tried his best. It's just, it didn't work out for him. I've got no ill feelings towards Ten Hag. 2 trophies in 2 years. The first time we've won a trophy in 6 years. Do you know what I mean? He had a lot of bullshit to deal with outside of stuff on the pitch as well. Do you know what I mean? The Ronaldo situation, the Greenwood situation, the Sancho situation, the takeover. Do you know what I mean? There's so much stuff that he had to deal with, and I don't think he and yes, it didn't work out, but I don't wish anybody I don't hold grudges on people like that. Do you know what I mean? So it's sad to hear that he's kind of ruined by it as well, because I do think he gave his best. It just wasn't ultimately good enough in the end. Now, obviously, Ruud van Nistelrooy, after the win last night, was asked if he wants to stay on. He said, "Of course, I came here as an assistant to help the club. Now in this role, I'm helping as long as needed. In the future, in any capacity, I'm here to help the club further, to build towards the future. That's what I'm here for." So that's what he said after the game last night, or some comments from Chris Wheeler. It does look like, though, as I mentioned before, with the fact that Amorim's bringing in his assistant manager, I kind of think that does mean that United, that he's not gonna want Ruud van Nistelrooy, and yet unless they are going to have a conversation when he arrives and maybe see if there is some kind of coaching position for him. But then would Ruud van Nistelrooy be happy with that? According to himself, maybe he would be, but it is what it is. It's I'm biased towards Van Nistelrooy, as I mentioned before. Hold no punches in saying he's one of my favourite ever players. So I'd want to see him stay at the club. But we've moved on. We've got a new manager, and you've got to support that manager as well. Otherwise you're setting him up to fail straight away, and we'll be back where we are in 12 to 18 months. And I don't want that, to be honest. So, but yeah, we'll have to see how it goes with Ruud van Nistelrooy. And then Rennie Hack's the other, obviously, coach that we got in this summer, said there's an expectation in the Netherlands that Rennie Hack will leave Manchester United once Ruben Amorim arrives. Again, that came from the Daily Mail. So all in, the kind of talk of the town, just to kind of summarize, because it's, we're having a lot of conflicting stories. Romano saying that it's pretty much done. I believe that it's done as well, personally, reading between the lines. I think that they've just come up with some kind of a deal or agreement where Amorim will see out the next few games at Sporting. Van Nistelrooy will see out the next few games at United as an interim basis, and then come the international break, Amorim's going to come in. He'll be our new manager from there. We'll need to wait and see exactly what that means for Ruud van Nistelrooy. I imagine, again, reading between the lines, the fact he's bringing in all his backroom staff and stuff, I'd imagine there'll be no place for Van Nistelrooy, so I can imagine him leaving, although I do hope I'm wrong on that. There might be an announcement over the next few days, but it doesn't really make a difference, does it? Because we know that it's happening. This is happening. We've had the here we go. David Ornstein's come out confirming that it's done. Do you know what I mean? It's as good as kind of done, just not official yet, which is fair enough. It is what it is. Trying to get a manager midway at the start of the season. I didn't even think we would get Amorim out of Sporting at this time. I've always said on previous videos that I can't see Ruben Amorim wanting to leave Sporting, yet we've done it, and he does, and we've just got to be a little bit patient for the next couple of weeks until he comes in, and then Ipswich will be, by all accounts, Ruben Amorim's first game. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you in the next one.